Crime is everywhere and consistently on the rise. Quick and easy cases are solved daily, but what of those other cases? The ones that have gone cold with no new leads or information. The famous serial killers have been captured and made public. But what of those still on the loose, or even worse, still killing? Welcome to the realm of darkness. Your host, Reeni and Ashley, will be your guides into the mysterious world of true crime cases and stories. Here are your hosts, Reeni and Ashley.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry.
I love we coming laughing already. That's a good start for a good show.
Well, we probably shouldn't be laughing about the show. Just
no, probably
other comments. So I know that a lot of people may have different views on this, which I kind of want to throw out there. I know when we first started talking about it, I know that your view was a little bit different because we're actually talking about Michelle Carter. And she's known for like what they call the suicide text or texts or whatever you want to call them, just a text. And I know I can't say it's like one of my favorite cases, but it's a very interesting case, to say the least.
Yes. It's a good conversational case, because you're right. When we first talked about doing this case, I'm very torn. I don't know. I see both sides of it, so it's going to be interesting tonight talking about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't see both sides. I only see one side.
Well, so my husband actually worked in corrections for 10 years. So looking at, I guess we should probably tell them what she did first.
Yes, let's do that before we start this conversation. So we have Michelle Carter, and she meets Conrad in Florida, and they find out that they're only like, an hour. They only really technically live an hour away from each other in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're talking about an 18-year-old boy and about a 17-year-old girl. Okay. Now, let's be honest, even an hour, it's still a lot to go see somebody. And they only see each other like a handful of times. So basically they were just texting back and forth, like normal teenagers do. Story goes on is Conrad had depression really bad, and he was in and out of the psychiatric ward. I don't know how many times, to be quite honest with you. And then Michelle, I do know that she had an eating disorder, and she also suffered from depression.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they both were under psychiatric help. They both had psychologists that they were talking to, counselors. They were both on depression medicine. So very similar in that aspect. Yes.
So basically, the story goes on is he starts texting, Conrad starts texting Michelle, that he wants to commit suicide. Okay. And she starts off with like, don't do it. Like, there's help. There's treatment programs that he can get himself into, all that good stuff. And I'm not sure, to be completely honest, it's not even a laughing matter, but where along the lines, like, she's just like flipped a switch, because
I can actually answer. So when, so Conrad, he actually tried to commit suicide multiple times. He did overdose on an antidepressant, but during the time frame, she actually knew him the first time he tried to commit suicide, and she was like, you need to find help. You need to find a better psychologist. You need someone you can rely on. Blah blah blah. It was right around the time, because she did suffer with that body dysmorphia and anorexia. And they put her on a medication, which I cannot remember the name of it, but it actually affects the front lobe of your brain. And that portion of your brain, according to the doctor that studied her, that's the part of your brain that is able to let you feel love and affection and caring. So they said that about a month before she started switching her story of no, don't do it, to let me help you figure this out, was right around that time she started that medication as well. And one of the doctors that actually was on trial or spoke at her trial studied it and said it was about a month before her switch in personality with him. And they're contributing it to that medication.
Okay, but here's the thing, and that's because that was her whole defense. Okay,
right. That's exactly
during this trial, it was her whole defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm not saying that antidepressants. I mean, let's be honest. There's always side effects to antidepressants,
especially in younger adults.
Right.
Yep.
We'll say younger adults because they were a little bit younger adults. Well, anyways, story goes on is she is sending him text messages at this point. Then after he's like making videos, basically like a video diary, and you can find it. It's an open thing, and you feel bad because this 18-year-old to feel that way, especially since he had so much going for himself. He was going to go to college. He got his captain's license.
Yes, he wanted to run a tugboat company like his father had.
Right, exactly. So, and that was a huge accomplishment for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, story goes on is she starts texting him after he's like, I want to commit suicide. And she's now encouraging him. And the text messages are public. We do know this. I know I sent Ashley some.
Mm-hmm.
I have some. But the truth of the matter is I don't want to say that I don't think she realized what she was doing. She knew what she was doing. Let's just be honest.
And I absolutely agree with you on that. She knew, because they did say that she was texting her friends before he actually committed suicide, saying that he was missing and they couldn't find him. But she had been texting him the whole time and he wasn't missing as of yet. So it was kind of like she was trying to get that reaction from her friends of, like, oh, my boyfriend's missing. And it was almost like she was trying to kind of see how they would react to the situation before it actually happens.
I guess my question is, and I'm just asking a question. I mean, I'm not exactly waiting for an answer to somebody pop up and be like, hey, this is it. I just don't, like I said, I just don't know how it got to that point. Like I said, I know that you said it was the drug. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was the drug. But in my opinion, and I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think she wanted to play the grieving girlfriend. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, I can pull up the text messages. She knew what she did because she sent her friend, Sam, a text message. Because the weird thing is when he did commit suicide, and we'll get to how he did that in a second, now I just lost my train of thought because I just said that.
Oh, it's Sam, I believe, is the one that she...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sam's the one that she told ahead of time. Mm-hmm.
She told Sam, like, hey, they're going through his phone, and I could be in trouble. I could go to jail for this. Well, no shit, you can go to jail for that. Honestly, let's be honest. You encouraged it. You didn't stop it. You didn't get a hold of his parents, his mom, until after. Nothing. She didn't stop it. She didn't call for help. She didn't do anything. She just said, hey, get back in the truck. Okay. Because
yes. So the way that he actually killed himself is he drove one morning, or one like late night, early morning, to a Kmart parking lot, and put a motor in the back of his truck, in the back seat, and turned it on, and tried to poison himself with carbon monoxide. At one point, he actually got out of the truck. He talked to Michelle for 30 minutes while this was going on. And at one point, he got out of the truck because it was working and he got nervous. And she specifically said, no, you need to do this. You need to get back in the truck. And he got back into the truck. And then shortly after that is when he perished.
You know, and this is actually a comment that somebody has brought up before, like when I was looking up the case. Like Bill asked, do you think she was living out her thoughts through him? She just didn't have enough guts to go through it herself, basically. And I think that is 110% correct to, I guess maybe not 110%, but I think to a point, yes, because I don't think she had enough guts to do it, but she also wanted to play that my boyfriend died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think she necessarily wanted to kill herself. I think she was more intrigued by the attention that it was going to get her as the grieving girlfriend, or, you know, the boyfriend's missing. He just killed himself, because she did do that charity where she even blamed someone for trying to take credit. She was texting people before he actually died, trying to get their response. And then I watched a documentary on it that she actually quoted word for word Glee when I don't know the actress's name, Leah Michelle maybe, and Corey something. So Corey, I guess, was an actor on the show, and he overdosed in 2013, and Leah Michelle was his girlfriend, and she was grieving on the show Glee. Michelle had actually taken verses from Leah Michelle's actor from certain episodes and was texting those exact things to her friends as like the morning girlfriend. And people really thought that she actually was almost obsessed with this celebrity couple, and she wanted to relate more by having her boyfriend dead like this other girl's. So I think it was more for the attention than actually wanting to do it herself.
And here's the thing, though, but I really do think that she kind of wanted to do it herself, but I don't think she had the guts to do it. She just had the guts to, I mean, here's the thing. Let's be honest, Ashley. If I were to go ahead and I just kept texting you, you got to do this, 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 you got to do this. After a while, I've just constantly put the thought in your head and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm a little bit of a different breed. If someone repeatedly told me to kill myself, I would tell them to go F themselves.
Well,
this is where, now again, I don't struggle with a mental illness that I'm aware of.
That she's aware of.
That I'm aware of. My husband may say differently. But this is where I struggle, because technically, and this is, people are going to yell at me, technically, in a legally binding way, she did not commit a crime. It's considered bullying, absolutely, but she didn't start the truck. She didn't put that stuff in there. So legally, she didn't do anything wrong. Criminally, I guess would be a good sense. Now, morally is a completely different story. And that's where I kind of see both sides.
Yeah, like I don't see
it's
like
still
both
wrong.
sides. Okay, like I don't see both sides. Okay. You've just taken somebody who we know had depression. Like it was proven. Okay. It was proven. He did not, I mean, the way that he talked about himself in that video, like his video diary. Okay. And my heart just like, it kind of sank, because it's like, man, how could you feel that way? Like, and there's nothing I could do to help him, obviously, now, but there is plenty of ways that you can help somebody in that state now. And I understand what you're saying, but she still got in trouble for it. She served, well, she was sentenced to 15 months. Okay. 15 months.
And 5 years probation. That was it.
And she did not serve that whole 15 months. She was a, what do I want to call it?
A model inmate.
Inmates. There you go.
Yes.
A model inmate. Okay. And I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, she didn't physically do it, but she didn't stop it. She knew. Yes. She told him, get back in that truck. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah. And that's why morally, I think it's absolutely wrong. But like I said, legally, people can argue there's still free will. I could tell you to rob a bank and you don't have to do it. But now coming from a mother's standpoint, because I know his mother was a single mom with 3 kids, it's also, so the part that kind of sways me a little more is it's still bullying in some sense.
Okay.
But
then she had.
the hard thing that I struggle with is, what was the breaking point in her case that they were like, okay, we're going to charge her with something. But then there's all these children who are bullied on social media. They're bullied at school. They're bullied at home. And there's these 10, 11-year-old children that are killing themselves because they can't handle the bullying, and nothing happens to their bullies.
Okay.
If there was something in this case, I just want to know where it is, because I think that if you cause somebody to take their life, you should absolutely be held responsible, especially if there's evidence.
Now, here's where I have the issue. And a lot of people could say, well, you're invading your daughter's privacy. Okay. My daughter has a cell phone, and I know what goes on. Okay. Because I go through text messages. She'll at least come to me. And we had an incident where these girls, okay, and it's Snapchat, okay. I don't have Snapchat. I don't really know how it works. So she came downstairs crying one day, and these girls were bullying her. And the next thing you know, her dad is sending those girls messages. If you keep on, I'm going to your parents' house. Like, end of discussion. And I think this is where we're having a little bit of, and like, then I had to call school, get some schedules changed, because again, like, she didn't want to leave the house. She didn't, and the signs were there. Okay. So I think as a parent, and I know that she was this, Conrad's mom was a single parent, but I think this is the problem with social media, is anybody can pick up and be a keyboard warrior at the end of the day. And you and I both know this.
We've both been victims of it before. Yeah.
Exactly.
People are pretty, excuse my language, but people are pretty badass when they're behind a computer. But I'm like, hey, show up at my house and see how tough you are. Like, there's a different story there. When it's face to face, they're not so tough.
But see, and a lot of kids are losing their lives because there is bullying, and and parents are like, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, like I said, go through their cell phones. It's not that hard, because if you noticed, Conrad, he ended up deleting and this is where I find it a little funny. He deleted all the text messages except for the text messages from Michelle. Now, he knew at the end of the day. And I think, like, in a way, he didn't want to let her down. Like, he's kind of like,
Yes, no, I agree with you. I think it was one of those things that, if you're right. If somebody's bothering you enough, like, let's take kids for it. If kids are like, can I have a cookie? Can I have a cookie? Can I have a cookie? And they ask you over and over and over, eventually you're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, I'll give you a cookie. Leave me alone. Not that it's anything similar, but
no.
They had these conversations for a year. And she might have gotten to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Because he did. He had spent the day before with his mom and his sisters.
Yeah, at the beach.
Yes, he had a great day with them, had lunch. He deleted all their text messages, all his other friends that he left just hers. And it's almost like, if he wouldn't have done that, no one would have ever known what actually happened. So he almost solved his own case.
Well, and that's kind of where I think that I thought it was pretty interesting, because he knew that when he got out of that car, he really didn't want to do it, because he kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And she's sitting there like, oh, you keep saying this, you keep saying this, you keep saying this. Well, my first reaction would be like, you know what, screw you, I'm blocking your number. You know what I mean? Like, as an adult, and I understand,
but you're also mentally sound.
Okay, but let's go back
insecure.
though. Let's go back to, like, teenagers for an example, or just kids 12, or just like the social media stuff. Okay, let's go back to that for a second. Now, and we want to talk about the bullying, okay, but they're always saying, okay, well, the parents need to be held responsible, correct?
Yes and no. So, yes, because if you know that your child's bullying somebody and you're not doing anything about it, I think you should be held accountable as well, because you need to take your kid, you need to give them, some people don't believe in whoopings, but you need to give them a whooping, a timeout, drop them off at juvie, let them see what jail's like, whatever, scared straight, whatever you need to do to get them to stop. But if you don't, like, if you genuinely don't know, because there are a lot of parents that they don't check the cell phones, they don't check their social medias, they trust their kids. So if the parents legitimately don't know, I don't see how they could be held accountable.
Okay, but I trust my 12-year-old. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just put it that way. She's got a cell phone and, you know, all those weird apps, right? Who's to say she's not bullying somebody?
True.
And and I think that if you're going to give a child a cell phone or any kind of social media, you should know what they're doing on there. I mean,
Yes.
I think as parents, but like, and I understand what you're saying. Not everybody, you know, worries about it. But in this day and age, there are so many kids that are committing suicide because they're bullied. And at this point, like, I know my mom, because like when Torgan was getting bullied, she was like, you know, take it to the news if school's not doing anything. And I'm like, I know what to do. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm one of those moms. I'm nosy. I'll read your journal. I don't care.
Yeah.
I have to know what's going on.
But that's not being a nosy mom. That's being a good mom, because you're going to be able to protect her from things that she doesn't want to tell you. And it doesn't matter how close you are with your parents. There's going to be a random comment or, you know, something weird that you're not going to want to tell your parents. And those are the ways that you find that out.
But okay, let's say that he didn't have a personal laptop, for an example, and he's doing these video diaries. You would assume that maybe his mom would get online or somebody would know what was going on. And I don't want to say that she was like naive to the situation, but I will tell you this, and I kind of want to go back to Michelle real quick. She went ahead after Conrad, you know, they found him.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Makes me angry.
She had the audacity to email his mother and say, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I did everything that I could. And I thought to myself, you did nothing.
Did you see the text message where she texted his mom and said, if you need anything, let me know. I can come over tomorrow to console you and to comfort you.
I did not see that.
Yes. I was fuming because I'm like, I swear, like, if I was that mom and I found out that this girl caused my son to kill himself and then she's gonna come over and give me a hug, like, how dare you? That takes some gall. Well,
and Nicole just said it seems like she enjoyed mentally controlling him. And I think I think that's 110% right. She really did. And she knew what she was doing. And, you know, and I've noticed people, they can be master manipulators. And a lot of people are like, oh no. And I'm sure his mom was like, you know, I just thought that they were texting back and forth. I didn't think it was like serious. In all actuality, I don't think it was that serious, because from what I'm understanding, they only seen each other a handful of times. Like, you would assume he drives. I'm assuming she may drive.
Yeah.
They could have met halfway.
Like some of his baseball games or something. But yeah, it can't be. I mean, I don't know.
Well, she wanted to do a charity event, a baseball charity event for him.
She did.
And she did. I thought that got cut down. Or
no, she did the event. Yeah, she did the event. It was like a baseball, softball charity event, and all the money went to suicide awareness. But you know the interesting fact about that event, though, right? She held it in her hometown, not his. So she held it in a town an hour away from where he lived. All of his family came, and someone offered to help her with it. And she replied, "Are you trying to take my credit or what?"
His family.
She held it an hour away from where he lived.
But that is their family member. Okay. At the end of the day, she was a friend, a girlfriend, whatever you want to call her at the end of the day, whatever you want to call her.
And some of his friends didn't even know who she was. So how good of a girlfriend or how serious of a girlfriend could she have been? You know, I'm assuming that if he was really into her, he would have told his best friend or told his friends about her. Like, hey, there's this girl I'm talking to. She's awesome. Something like that.
Well, she wasn't very awesome. I mean,
well, true.
The text messages, you know, like, I mean, how can I don't want to say this to be mean, but I think teenage girls are very wicked. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just wicked right across the board. Okay. And it doesn't matter. I don't know. Let's just be honest. Teenage girls are master manipulators. I don't know where they get it. It's like they're born with it. You know, here we are.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Teenage girls sometimes are mean. And I don't know if it was her way of, like Nicole said, trying to control him and isolate him, or I don't know, because he didn't tell anybody else. In the court records, it says that she admitted to being the only person who knew that he was suicidal at that point. And his mom didn't know, his best friend didn't know, but they had all seen it previously. Well, when he tried to commit suicide the first time, because I think his friend Andrea or Audrina, something like that, is actually the one who saved his life by calling his mom and saying something's not right.
So, and I know that his mom said in an interview that it seemed like he was getting better. Mm-hmm. But let's just say that he wasn't taking his pills, because I don't know. I didn't read that. I didn't, you know, and as we all know, after you don't take those pills, you're going to fall back into that depression as well. Or it could have just been the pills. But it seemed like like I said in his video diaries, like my heart went out to him. And then when I'm seeing these text messages and I watched the interview.
Oh, that's my uncle. He calls me Baby Guido because I always start to break thumbs when people piss me off, to be honest. So, no, but you're right. So that video, he actually was talking about how he was looking forward to each day and trying to get better, and trying to look toward positive things. And that was only a month before he committed suicide.
But like I said, and I know that you're like, well, I mean, she really wasn't, you know, I see both sides of this. I don't see both sides of this. And I'll tell you why. Okay. I will tell you why.
Okay.
The only thing that got her in court was the fact that she texted her friend Sam as well and said, I basically encouraged it, and they're going to go through all of his phone stuff, and I'm going to be in trouble for this. Well, no shit, you're going to be in trouble for this. And again, right then and there. Okay. And I know that we haven't done this case, and it's a really good case actually. And it was Rachel Wade. Okay. The only thing that she got, you know, she's in prison right now because of just a text message that she sent somebody. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to social media, she wasn't the only person that convinced her, you know, boyfriend to commit suicide. There was a whole nother case with a whole different people at some university, and she did the same thing, and she's serving more time. But then you got Michelle Carter, like, oh, it's all great, I'm at Disneyland with her family. Come on. Like, knowing what you did, like, how do you live with yourself?
Right. And I think, honestly, if she did not have previous mental issues that she had dealt with, I think it would have been a completely different case. I am not saying what she did was correct or what she did was right. I absolutely think that she should have received a lot more of a sentencing than what she did, because she was sentenced with involuntary manslaughter. I think it should have at least been manslaughter at the minimum, because so the difference between involuntary and voluntary. Involuntary is accidentally, without intent, killing somebody. So that's if you're in a car accident or something of that nature. Manslaughter is knowing that someone is going to kill them, or knowing that there's going to be a murder and not doing anything about it. So I think at a minimum, she should have had manslaughter. murder.
Well, here's the thing. If you're getting murdered, Ashley, and I see it and be like, oh, you know what? Screw it. It has nothing to do with me. I'm still going to be in trouble because I didn't do anything.
Because you were away. Yeah.
Exactly. And she didn't. She just encouraged this. Like, it was like.
Well, and then even after it happened, she didn't. I told you he was in.
I know.
But. And yeah, to Brian's standpoint, it is hard because she wasn't there. She didn't pull the trigger. There was no trigger, but she didn't technically kill him. And at the end of the day, yes, there is free will. We agree on that. So legally, she didn't do anything wrong. But again, morally, she absolutely, I don't know if he would have killed himself without her pushing him to do so. And yes, there was mental illness involved, but if she knew, and we should read some of the text messages for everyone watching. But just for some of the background on the messages is he would text her and say, I'm thinking about killing myself today. And she would say, yeah, you should do it today. You've waited too long. You've put it off too long. And she did actually prey on him, Brian. I'm glad you brought that up, because there was many times where he told her that he was going to do it, but then he'd say, no, I can't. And she would almost belittle him. Well, why can't you? You put this off long enough. Why are you being a wimp? Why can't you just do it? So she was preying on him in a sense, but she was also, every time he would back out, instead of being, that's, like, yes, you're loved, don't do this, she would belittle him for not going through with it. And then what a lot of people don't know is she was giving him ideas of how to kill himself. She was texting him like, today's the day you could drink bleach, or hey, here's today you can hang yourself and it'll only take a couple minutes and it'll be painless. And she was repeatedly sending him ways to kill himself. And the way that he actually ended up doing it was her idea. And that's what a lot of people didn't read into. But yeah, these text messages is he would say, no, I'm not going to do it. It's too late. And she's like, no, it's the perfect time. Everybody's sleeping. You should do it now. And she would just keep pushing and pushing and pushing every time he backed out.
Here's the thing. When he got out of that, but when he got out of that truck and he said, I can't do this. And he called her and she's like, you need to get back in that truck. You're going to do this and you're going to do it now. It's and I'm thinking to myself, first off, you should have never been in that truck. You should have never come up with that idea. And if he got out, say, get your ass to the hospital and I'll meet your ass there.
Or when he got out of that truck, she already had his mom's number. Or
stay where you're at. Get that machine. Sure, you're going to stay on the phone.
Yeah.
What was that?
Or she had his mom's number. She should have honestly hung up on him or said, hey, where are you? Called his mom and said, Conrad's in Kmart parking lot trying to commit suicide. You need to get there now. And his mom could have intervened, but she didn't. She just let it happen. And then she actually told her friend she was on the phone the minute he took his last breath.
Yeah.
And after he died is when she hung up. So she was specifically on the phone with him when she died, or when he died.
That's what I'm saying. She sat on the phone. So
and
my
didn't
thing is,
do anything.
How can you say that she was not a party to,
yes,
his suicide? And I know, like I said, this is a great topic because I know a lot of people are on this, like, oh, I don't know. They're just words.
But still, I think
sometimes they're not just words.
No. 15 months, like the way I like to say is, what if that was your kid? Like, would you be satisfied knowing that this person only got 15 months and only served 12 of those? Absolutely not.
But who's to say she's not going to try to
do it again?
Yeah. I mean, we don't know the stipulations.
I think she should at least, because I think the sentencing was up to 20 years and she got 15 months. Why not give 5 years? Even at 20, she'd be out at 25. But 5 years gives you enough to think about what you did. 10 years.
She did not have a trial jury.
No, and she selected out of that, actually, because she knew, and that's where this comes into it. If she would have had a jury, it would have fed on all those people's emotions, and she would have had 20 years. But she went with a judge who is going to look at it from a more legal standpoint and not so much of a emotional, moral standpoint. So in her trial, that was the best thing for her lawyer to do. Because if that would have been a jury, she'd still be in prison. I think so, at least.
I mean, but like I said, how are you going to text or write or whatever his mom, I did everything I could. When the truth comes out, like, I'm not going to lie to you, because if it was my son, I'd be like, no, like, I want the death penalty. And I know that sounds selfish. I know it does, because that's my son. And this girl that I probably wouldn't like anyways, just kept on.
Let's be honest, we both have boys. Are we going to like any of their girlfriends?
No, not at all, because I'm going to still be going through text messages.
Oh,
like, I don't want. Because
I already say, nobody judge me for this, but I tell my husband all the time, I can't hit a child, but I can hit somebody's mom. Like, don't make me hunt down the mother, because I will.
Like, I live in such a small town. I'm like, wait, who's their mom? Who's their mom?
Oh, yeah. I will Facebook creep. I will stalk them. My husband is fantastic at stalking people online, like figuring their whole life. I'll know everything about them. Trust me. But no, but see, and this comes back to the bullying thing, is I want to know, what was that point in her case where they decided she was guilty? Because when it comes to bullying, message. But I mean, with bullying, if you're bullying on social media, you have to be able to go back and see that. And I mean, not to switch subjects, but I just read an article that there was a 10-year-old boy who hung himself in his bedroom because he was being bullied so bad at 10 years old. And
yes,
did you read that? Nothing happened to the bullies. Nothing. Not even like a grounding. And I'm like, how can you bully someone so bad to make them want to take their lives and have no consequences?
Okay, but like, let's look at that shooting. And I know this is like probably the worst example that I could come up with, but it's the best I could come up with right now at the top of my head. The shooting in Michigan. His parents are in trouble. Okay. So why are we not taking steps? Like, we know that their son killed somebody. Okay. And they're facing charges. I think I can't remember right off the top of my head, because the whole school shooting thing breaks my heart anyways.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that now it's time, if we're going to start doing that, which I think that they should, we need to start holding like parents responsible at the end of the day as well.
So his parents got in trouble, and I'm probably gonna tell this wrong because I've heard different versions of it. But from what I heard is he was either drawing on a desk or was talking about EMO at school, and he was told he needs to stop that. And he texted his mom something about talking about the guns or EMO. And he actually said something, I don't know how it read. I wish I had the text message, but it was
so did I.
That like he had mentioned to his mom that something about bringing the gun to school somehow, some way. And they just said, don't talk about it. But that's not a funny joke.
No, it's not.
If somebody says, hey, I'm going to take a gun to work, or I'm going to take a gun to school, whether they're joking or not, that is something that needs to seriously be looked into. And on that on his parents, they should have done something. The minute he sent that text, they should have locked the gun up. They should have hit it, something, because that's just not something you joke about.
But what I'm understanding is his mom sent him a message, something about getting caught or something on that order. And I thought to myself, right. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now you sent a message, just okay. So now let's factor this in. Anybody can go to your social media account and be like, okay, they're bullying and they're saying this and they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's just because that these people are sensitive. Okay. I don't think that it's just because people are sensitive. Okay.
Right.
I think that after a while, enough is enough. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. Right. Like, a lot of people have deleted their Facebook accounts and stuff like that. They're like, this is the drama and everything else. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to get at is now it's time to hold these parents responsible. Like I said, Matt had no problem sending these girls' parents a message, or the girls a message, and saying, hey, I'm going to go to your parents' house if you keep on. Yeah. You know, go right ahead. You know, I mean, I know where you live.
Yeah.
But then again,
no, and you're right. And it comes down to the same thing as a narcissistic behavior. When they're abusing someone verbally, they just tell you the same thing over and over and over. And eventually, whether you believe it or not, you're going to start to question yourself. So if you're continuously told you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, eventually you're like, am I the problem? You know, and instead of these bullies, I mean, I don't know, what are things kids nowadays, their hair or the way they do the makeup or their clothes they wear, you know, a lot of things they don't really have control over. But I mean, if you hear every day, your hair is ugly, your hair is ugly, your hair is ugly, you're going to start looking at changing your hair, whether you like it or not. It's just, it's human nature to want to be accepted.
Well, and I think that's, I guess maybe I'm just not like that. I'm just like, oh, whatever. I don't even care anymore. You know me. Okay. You're like, whatever. Like, she wears her pajamas all day long. Okay. And I mean, that's the truth. But I guess when we're raising our children, and everybody's like, oh, they need to be strong and they need to be strong. But even as adults, like, you're like, if you said, I don't like your earrings, I don't like your earrings, I don't like your earrings. Hey, me being who I am, would tell you, go F yourself. But as a child, they're not going to be able to do that because they don't have, I don't think they have like the skills to say like, I don't give a fuck.
Well, and I think it comes with age, because I would say in my teenage years, if someone repeatedly said, oh, the way you do your makeup's ugly, I would have probably been like, oh, okay, well, let's see a different way. But the older you get, the more you're like, you know what? F you. I don't like people anyway. So, you know, you're like, I'd rather just be in my house with my dog and my kid. It's fine. But I think at that age, you know, it's so much about trying to have friends and be accepted. And I think, you know, yeah, nowadays, if somebody didn't like something, I'm like, well, if you don't like the way I look, don't look at me. But
like I said,
as a teenager, I'd probably care.
Well, you know, I think when we were like teenagers, let's just be honest, we didn't have like iPhones and like Snapchat, and we had MySpace. That was a big thing.
I think we had like, my first cell phone was like a Razor, I think.
Mine was pink and it had a charm.
I wasn't even old enough for a pager, so that, you know.
I had one of those, but you know, if somebody were to give me a pager now, I still wouldn't. I probably wouldn't know how to work it. I'm like, oh man. But I guess what I'm saying is, you know, a lot of that bullying was just happening in school, and now they've just taken it to social media. I mean, even as adults, we know this.
And even back in our day, even if we did get bullied at school, you knew that you could go home and home was your safe place. But now the kids, you can't get away from it. So it's literally 24/7. And I mean, we've gotten completely off track with the case, but I really
pertain to it though.
Yeah, she really did do a form of bullying. And like Brian had said earlier, she was almost preying on him and preying on his weakness of his mental illness. And I'm still baffled that she only was sentenced for 15 months and only actually served 12 of them.
Well, my question is, how was she this wonderful model inmate? Okay, like, well, you're just going to go back out to society, probably get a cell phone, probably in somebody else's name, okay? Like, or get a social media and like have a whole different name. And she may do this all over again. Okay,
and in prison, I don't know. I've never been to prison, so I don't know how hard it is to be a model inmate. But let's be honest, she's not the biggest girl. She's small. She's short. She's tiny. She's prime prey in a prison, I would assume. So I would think you're going to be on your best behavior, because you're going to want the guards to like you. And everybody knows if you're on best behavior, you get out early. You don't normally go through your whole sentencing.
I know, but okay, so I mean, let's
But I mean, wait, no, I'm agreeing with you. She could probably, we'll say she could probably fake being perfect for roughly a year. And then she's going to get out and give it a couple years and she'll do it again. And she actually was released, I believe, last year. So she's out in the public right now.
Just to let y'all know, she's out in the public.
So if you get a random message, don't answer it.
Don't answer. You never know what she's capable of. So we only have a couple minutes left. I just want to let you guys know, thanks for just listening to us kind of ramble sometimes.
We're very passionate about this case, apparently.
Yes. Off topic. And remember, Afterlife Chronicles, Nicole Strickland is on next. You all need to tune in, listen. It's going to be great. Yes. And I know Ashley and I have some really cool things coming up soon. So, I mean, definitely be on the lookout for that. A lot of cool stuff happening this month.
16 days.
I know. So you guys have a good rest of the night, and we will see you next Thursday.
Yes. Good night, guys.